I said I'd record this a while ago, and then I didn't. So now I'm recording it, and that's still okay. I'm still within the season. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is October. If you're new, welcome. If not, welcome back. This is Nerdboy Reads channel, in which I talk about the stuff that I have been reading recently, regardless of how much I liked it. Today we are gonna do a spoopy video rather than a spooky video. These are the manga that I believe you can read around this season, but they're not really like horror manga. These are manga that have Halloween themes, horror themes, but they're not really, you know, horror-ish. Does that make any sense? Like, a lot of these aren't, I wouldn't consider horror, but they have elements that make them feel right to read around Halloween. So that's what we're gonna do. This first one might be the closest thing to horror that I have found. This is kind of a popular one. I know it's getting an anime adaptation next year and it looks stunning, so I cannot wait for it to come out. So everyone's probably heard about this one, but I'm still going to tell you about it because I think it fits this season perfectly, and that is Hell's Paradise. This is about Gabimaru, who is a ninja who, instead of being executed like he's supposed to, he gets sent on a mission to this island to find the cure for immortality, or like the secret to immortality for the emperor. Otherwise he will be killed. This is very violent. This is very bloody. Like I said, this is probably the closest thing to horror on this list. It is definitely body horror if anything, but the art is stunning. Like, I'm going to show you the first page because it's not a spoiler, because it's literally the first page. The artwork is stunning. I haven't finished it yet. The series is already finished with 13 volumes, but I haven't finished it yet. I have up to 10 and I still haven't read that much, but I'm really enjoying the storyline. The art is fantastic. It's a nice ensemble cast of characters, and I really love this, and I cannot wait for the anime adaptation. I can't wait to finish the manga because it's really interesting. All the twists and turns and the characters and the art style and the violence that is in this is just perfect for this season. So I think I'm going to finish this before the month is out because I still have a few days to do so, and I can do it. So yeah, this is the first recommendation, closest thing to horror on this list, and I highly recommend you pick it up if you haven't and if you can handle all the violence that comes into it. So yeah. This next one is actually the reason I decided I wanted to do this video, because it has the most obvious Halloween themes about it, and that is Soul Eater. This is about an academy set in Death Valley where people known as Meisters control people known as weapons, and they fight demons and whatnot. Obviously, it's pretty Halloween. There's a pumpkin on the front page, and there's a witch, and it's a death scythe and all that good stuff. There's a bunch of Halloween themes. The moon has a face on it. There's a bunch of like Halloween references, the pumpkins, all that good stuff set in Death Valley. This is just a nice Halloween themed manga without leaning into the horror and stuff like that. There is a lot of fan service in this series. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about this because it is by the same person who wrote Fire Force. So if you know about the all the fan service in Fire Force, be prepared for that also in Soul Eater, though I'm pretty sure it is more prevalent in Fire Force. This is also an ensemble cast. This is a very well done ensemble cast. This had all the characters get developed in a way that makes sense for them, and it's just stunning to read about. There is an anime adaptation for this, but the ending veers off. I believe the anime veers off about between 6 and 9 volumes into the manga because of whatever reasoning, and there are 25 volumes in total, so there is a lot of differences between the manga and the anime. So if you liked the anime, I highly recommend reading the manga because you will get a lot of differences. There is a lot more development done with the characters and the story in the manga, and the ending makes a little bit more sense to me rather than what they did in the anime, which I understand why they did it, but I still prefer the manga ending. So yeah, this is a really good one to read for Halloween because of all the themes and stuff like that, and it's just a fun one to read if you like shonen battle anime in general. So if you haven't read Soul Eater, it's kind of old, but the series still really does hold up really well, so I highly recommend either picking it up around Halloween time or just in general if you haven't already. So yeah. The next two I'm going to put into the section together because they're written by the same person. One of them is finished and one of them is ongoing, and that is Dorohedoro and Die Dark. Dorohedoro is an ensemble cast about a man named Kaiman who wakes up with a lizard head, and he goes on a journey to figure out why he has a lizard head. That is literally the broadest description of this series I can give, because it is so much more than that. There is a lot. The magic system is really cool. The characters are all unique, and they interact in a way that is fun to read about and makes you want to root for every single person in this series. There is no real protagonist or antagonist. They're all pretty bad people, actually. They all don't mind killing. There's no moral high ground to be had here. These are just people trying to survive the world they live in, and the found family elements are really strong, and it's just really good. I can go on about this series, honestly, but anything else I say is going to be a spoiler. The series is complete at 23 volumes, and there is an anime adaptation on Netflix, though I prefer the art style of the manga to what they did in the anime, so keep that in mind as you watch it. It's another one, if you liked the anime, really try to pick up the manga. Please know that there is a lot of violence in this, but it's not like horror violence, it's just violence for the sake of being violent, and what it benefits the story and it makes sense for the world they live in. So do be prepared to go into that. There are also a lot of titties, so if you are uncomfortable with that, be prepared going in that it is an adult manga, so they are allowed to show them. So it's just a really fun series. I'm gonna definitely end up rereading it soon because it has quickly become one of my favorites, and I just recommend reading it if you can stomach the violence, if you can stomach the titties, and if you like ensemble casts, unique worlds, unique magic systems. Pretty much if you like Soul Eater, try Dorohedoro, because I compared it to Soul Eater one time with my friend, because it is technically just a grown-up Soul Eater. At least that's what I compare it to. And then Die Dark is kind of on the almost exact opposite spectrum. It's still very violent. It's still kind of cast oriented, but this is more of a space series. This is a sci-fi violent series rather than this magical fantasy series. This is about a boy named Sanko, and everyone is after his bones. His bones are said to grant wishes and to make everyone's most deepest desires come true, and he's just trying to live. He can't die, and everyone's trying to kill him and take his bones. He doesn't understand why. He doesn't know who put the rumor out there that his bones makes like wishes come true. He doesn't know if it's true. He just wants everyone to stop trying to steal his bones. This is still an ongoing series. I think volume 5 is coming out soon. I don't know where it is online, because I know people read it online, but I'm clearly collecting the volumes. I'm really liking how it's going so far. I am only 3 volumes in, so I can't say much about it, but I like the cast that we are introduced to initially, and I like watching everyone interact. Mangaka clearly knows how to write character interactions, and even with a large ensemble cast like they write, they balance all of them really well, and everyone gets a lot of really good development. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this series goes in particular, because I haven't finished it yet. I'm not very far in it, but I'm really looking forward to figuring out where it's all going, and it really feels like something you should read now. It's kind of almost horror. It's another one of those violence that makes sense in the world, but not really like for horror. You get me? So yeah, if you like that, read these. Does that make any sense? The next one I'm putting on here because I think it may be just a smidge of a stretch, but it makes sense to me because it has the mystery elements, the almost horror elements. It's kind of more on the thriller end of horror, but it's still kind of gory, it's still shocking, and it still has all the same elements that you would get in a horror. Pretty much, if you consider Death Note a horror, this is another Death Note, but Death Note is still more on the mystery thriller side, and this is too. I'm talking about Can't Stop Cursing You. This is about Cursebreaker Sayama. He puts himself into a school because he hears that a bunch of people are getting cursed and killed, and he's going to investigate why. This is kind of an episodic manga. There are 3 manga in this series so far. It totals out at 4, I believe, but we don't have a release date on the 4th one yet. But these all feel very episodic. Was a hint of an overlying plot in the first one, but it's kind of dropped in the 2nd and 3rd one, and they're all very unique, and they don't really follow the same plot. Like, the plot in one of them is wrapped up and quickly contained into that for the volumes they're introduced to. So if you like that, pick them up. I also think you should just pick them up in general because not a lot of people talk about this series, and they should. I can't really say much about it. I love this series. I love it so much. It feels like something that should be read in Halloween. There is violence and blood and mystery, and if you like kind of slasher, murder, horror, not exactly horror stuff, but like campy teen stuff, this kind of feels like campy teen stuff. This also feels a lot like Death Note. So if you think Death Note belongs in Halloween, then read this too, because it's a series that isn't getting a lot of love. I believe it got canceled after first 4 volumes because not a lot of people like it, but I love it. So I'm not going to go on about this series because I can't, because there's not much to talk about because it's only a 4-volume series and they haven't even announced the last volume to come out. But I still recommend picking it up around this time. It is perfect for Halloween. And it's just perfect to pick up in general. So keep that in mind, even if you go out of Halloween without reading this one. So again, yeah. This next one I can say is perfect for Halloween. It's literally set in the monster demon realm, and it's about different types of monsters living their life. I'm talking about Blood Lad. This is about a girl named Fuyumi who gets trapped in the demon realm, turns into a ghost, aka she's killed, and this guy, Staz, is a gang leader, but also the son of Dracula, and he tries to help her resurrect because he likes the smell of her blood and wants to drink her blood. This is a 9 omnibus volume. Well, there's 8 omnibuses and then 1 single volume, so it's roughly, that totals out to 17 volume series. So it's complete. There's an anime adaptation, and it's perfect for Halloween specifically because it literally revolves around monsters and demons, and it's more of a shonen action anime and manga rather than anything bordering on horror. So that's why I'm putting it in this category of spoopy, not spooky, and gives off more Halloween vibes than actual horror stuff. So I can't remember a lot about this series. I finished it. I have all of them. I do plan on rereading them. I've watched half of the anime, and it's just so good. The characters are so vibrant and unique, and it's just such a fun series to get into. If you haven't already watched this series or interacted with this series at all, I highly recommend it. It's a short series, so you can blow through it in a day, and just get on it. It's perfect for this season because it's literally just monsters and stuff. Look at this. It's literally just monsters, and you're just following people. It's good. It's another author who knows how to write a large cast of characters that make them feel like they're all getting developed and they're all unique and they're all going about life in their own way, but they interact so well together. So I highly recommend picking it up, especially around Halloween. But again, all of these series, especially, like literally every other series I've talked about and will talk about so far, I have 2 more left. This is perfect for Halloween, but it's also good for all the other seasons as well. So if you don't pick it up here, pick it up later. Just pick it up, interact with it. It's so good, you will not regret it. And if you do, you can dislike the video, I guess. Yeah. Please be warned that this is another one of the series that have a lot of fan service, but it's not like adult fan service. It's about as fan service as you can get in a shonen manga, so be prepared for that if you do go into it. And if you're uncomfortable with it, don't get into it. It starts off like pretty much in volume 1, so you'll get a taste of what it goes into in the first volume, in the first few chapters, and you can gauge it from there whether or not you want to continue. Just keep that in mind when you're reading it or watching it. But yeah, do read it and do watch it. These last 2 are strictly for vibes only. These are more character-driven, slow burn, gothic horror, but it's not horror. There are horror elements, but they're not actually horror. They're more mystery, gothic, vibey stuff. The first one is one that I recently got into. Well, not recently, because I picked it up when volume 1 just came out, and I loved it from the start. This is a josei manga. I don't have a lot of them, so that should tell you something. And it's so atmospheric. The characters, the world building, mainly the world building and the character building and the character development. This is The Witch and the Beast. This is about Gudo, who is literally described as a feral woman, and Ashef, who is a witch, and they go around trying to like solve murders and solve crimes that could have paranormal elements in them, and they just vibe in this world that is built up so well. The art style is really pretty. Like, look at that. Look at all of this. It's so good. It's so very good. I don't know what else to say about it. It's really good. This is a popular series. I think it got popular. I haven't been keeping up with what everyone talks about because I'm lame like that, and I'm so good at my job and so good at keeping up with reading and whatnot. But this is one that I fell in love with from the first volume. I literally picked it up blindly, not knowing anything going into it. And I loved it. I am keeping up with it like religiously. And I cannot wait to see what happens next. There is vampires, there's witchcraft, there's violence, but not blood and stuff like that. It's like, it's tasteful violence, if you would like to call it that. There's necromancy, there's just a whole lot of stuff that makes it perfect this time of year. The atmosphere is there. This is a very atmospheric story that you slowly are introduced to. And it's just a slow burn, perfect Halloween-based story. Like, look at this. It's so pretty. It's so Halloween-y. And I need everyone to read it. Yeah. Finally, we have another Victorian-era Gothic kind of vibey one. This is Black Butler. I'm sure everyone and their mom knows what Black Butler is, and I'm sure a lot of people have dropped it, but I still love this series to death. This is one of the first manga and first anime I have ever interacted with. It holds a special place in my heart, and yes, I still believe that it holds up to this day. The characters are amazing. All the characters we are introduced to have a complex and rich backstory, and they're developed in a surprising ways that just make me excited to keep going with this story. I'm not going to say much. It's long. There's an anime adaptation. We don't talk about season 2. Season 1 is very different than the manga because I think what happened is they were making the anime at the same time they were making the manga, and then the anime caught up too fast to the manga, so they had to do their own thing. And then they did season 2, which we don't talk about, and then they tried to retcon everything in season 3 and just keep up with everything, and then the movie and another season and blah blah blah. Either way, if you want to interact with it, start with the manga, because the manga is so much better than the anime in my opinion. Of course, they meet up together around season 3, and then they just keep going in chronological order. But the manga really gives you a neat, concise story. There's not a lot of filler. Everything in this story has a purpose. And we finally hit like the big reveal, the big plot twist. This is definitely like a murder mystery type. I haven't even told you what it's about. A young boy named CL Phantom Hive who survived a family tragedy in which everyone in his family was killed, and he is on a mission to find out who killed his family and why, and he makes a contract with this demon named Sebastian to help him discover his family's killers, and in exchange he will give Sebastian his soul. It's so good. It's so good. We're hitting the major plot points now where we are in the manga, but you have to read all the manga and keep up with it. It's one of those series you can't just jump into. You have to read it. So if you do start it, start from the first one. It's so atmospheric. It's jarring. There's a whole lot of stuff I can't describe because it will just be a spoiler for everything. So please pick this up. I know a lot of people are giving it shit nowadays, but it's completely unwarranted in my opinion. This is still a really good series that holds up, and if you just ignore the fandom, like a lot of things, if you can ignore My Hero Academia's fandom, you can ignore Black Butler's fandom, and just go into it. If you want to look up spoilers, go ahead, but I went into it blind, and I highly recommend you go into it blind. It's just one of those series that you let it burn, and you enjoy the warmth of it. Does that make sense? Go into it. Please give it a chance. I promise you won't regret it. Alright, that is it for this video. I know it's late, and I know it's kind of short, and I know I'm kind of rambly, but I still recommend every single one of those manga that I picked up. Some honorable mentions, because I know people are going to be like, why didn't you mention this series, and why didn't you mention this series? I haven't read them. I haven't interacted with them. I am bad at keeping up with a lot of the series that people talk about, but I'm doing my best. So I'm gonna recommend for like honorable mentions, I'm gonna go with Death Note. Obviously, stuff I mentioned, Can't Stop Cursing You, and I kept comparing it to Death Note. I'm gonna recommend Death Note. I'm gonna recommend Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm gonna recommend Chainsaw Man, which is really popular. D. Gray Man, really good. I don't know, we don't know the status of D. Gray Man, but it's still a really good one for this season. What else do I have? Attack on Titan is more horror-y. Goblin Slayer, Blue Exorcist, and can I fit in one more? Can I do one more? I think that's it. Yeah, Dead Man Wonderland. That's it. Those are my recommendations along with some honorable mentions. If you pick up any of them, leave them in my comments. Even if you pick them up after Halloween, let me know what you think about them. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Do you agree with me? Are these Halloween worthy, or should I just shut up? Even though I'm not going to, because this is my channel and I do what I want. But that's it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I have to say. This has been Nerdboy Reads. I have been October. Hope you liked this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!